On July 1st, I will begin my 9th year as senior rabbi of Temple Bethel. Thank you. And when I arrived here in 2016, one of my sons was not yet walking, and the other was a wide-eyed preschooler at CJP. And we had no family in Charlotte, and now we have a bar mitzvah. The other is 9, going on 20, I think. And we have multiple first cousins, and soon more family will be joining us in Charlotte. And it feels like a classic Charlotte and Temple Bethel story. I have a little less hair than I used to, and a lot more of it is gray. So looking back on these 9 years, I can't help but feel grateful for what I've gained. Gained a chosen family of incredible community, gained the most remarkable colleagues and professional team whose dedication inspires me and carries me forward every single day, and gained incredible mentors in the form of the lay leaders that I and that we have the privilege of working with. And that's what I want to focus on tonight, a deeper understanding of the sacred responsibility of synagogue leadership and what it really is, especially in Jewish life. Because here at Temple Bethel, leadership isn't about titles, and it certainly isn't about a spotlight. It's about presence. It's about clarity, about showing up with heart, even when the road ahead is uncertain. Tonight, we begin, as we always should, with gratitude. And to Ben Benson, perhaps, as was said, our longest-serving immediate past president and one of the longest-serving board members in our 80-year history. If I have my math right, Ben, you've been on the board for 12 years, which is nearly 15% of our congregation's life. Congratulations. Your steady and unflinching leadership carried us through the most turbulent chapters in our history: financial crisis and global pandemic, uncertainty, transitions, and transitions again. And yet you remained calm, principled, and present. You reminded us that even in the chaos, we could act with integrity, with compassion, and faith and humor. You taught us to have an architect's eye, to organize, plan, draw, and construct the future that we want. Your mentorship, your moral compass, and your friendship made a lasting difference. Thank you, Ben. And now I get to say thank you to Alan Cronovan. There is something sacred about the word we. We Jews love to say it, not just because it binds us to each other, but because it binds us to a sense of responsibility. I recently wrote about this in the Charlotte Jewish News, right? We stood at Sinai, we wandered the wilderness, we built, we dreamed, we returned. And Alan, your presidency has been a master class in sacred responsibility and we. You didn't stand above the leaders, staff, and clergy, you stood with us. You led not just with a vision, but with a steady soulfulness. You helped us remember who we are while guiding us towards who we might yet become. And tonight I want to offer leadership lessons that are grounded in our tradition that I think we have learned from you. Each of these lessons are lived through your presidency and have been shared with me by the members of your board, our past presidents, and the staff and clergy of Temple Bethel. First, Hineni, presence over perfection. When God called to Abraham, he answered, Hineni, here I am, not I have the plan, not I know what to do, but simple, vulnerable declaration of presence. Abraham says Hineni 3 times in the story of the Akedah, the binding of Isaac, to God, to his son, and to the unknown. It is one thing to say Hineni when life is clear. It's another to say it when the path is painful, when your heart aches and you still show up. Alan, you said Hineni to this community again and again, not with all of the answers, but with your full self, present, listening, and steady. That's the kind of leadership that changes people, not perfection, but presence, and presence is everything. Leadership is also a sacred service. We live in a world that rewards spotlight and platform and applause, but Jewish leadership isn't about performance. When Moses is remembered at the end of the Torah, he is not called a king or a prophet. He is not even called Adonai or a servant of God. And Alan, you led as a servant. Not necessarily like Moses and with a staff, but as a servant. Not to be praised, but to be useful. Not to be right, but to do right. Your leadership wasn't about being the loudest voice. It was about making space for others to lead alongside you. 3, to lift others. I agree. I completely agree. Pirkei Avot teaches, bear the burden with your neighbors. Not for them, with them. And Alan, that's how you've led. You've lightened the load without diminishing responsibility. In fact, you have this ability to lighten the load and then also encourage more responsibility. You encourage the best in all of us without needing to be the hero. You reminded us that leadership is not about doing it all. It's about making sure that no one carries it alone. 4, you plant for the future, as we've heard and as we see in this room. True leadership is long-term work, the Lador Vador work, from generation to generation. It's planting seeds that you may never see bloom. It's about building systems and culture and relationships that last beyond your years and your term. And Alan, you've never just led for just today. You thought about tomorrow. In word and deed, you lived out Lador Vador, honoring what came before and strengthening what is now and preparing what is yet to be. And finally, head and heart leadership. You brought both head and heart. You gave space for feeling and space for thinking. You brought rigor and reflection. You reminded us that leadership isn't either or, it's both and. It's intellect guided by compassion. It's heart informed by wisdom. And you turned this role over with care. You studied it from all sides. And in doing so, you helped us to see what we might have missed. You showed us that sacred responsibility does not demand attention. It offers integrity. And so tonight, as we thank Alan, we also welcome AJ Seacrest as our next president. AJ already understands what sacred leadership requires. Service, not spotlight. Insight, not impulse. Conviction, not control. You lead by listening, and you build trust, and you always act with integrity. AJ, you step into a role that is not only about governance, though I want you to know, we know that governance is really important. Because governance helps us to do the soul work really well. But you inherit a mission that you make your own. You inherit a vision that you will make your own. Catherine Schultz, in her profound book that I've been reading, Lost and Found, writes that every deep love contains within it the eventual act of letting go. That is part of what leadership is, deep love and eventually letting go. It's not only about what you hold, it's about how you release. It's not only about what making decisions, it's about leaving room for what's next. And Schultz reminds us that the world is always both grief and wonder, memory and possibility. And so much of Jewish leadership is learning to live with the and. And that is a spiritual discipline in and of itself. It takes strength and courage, chazak ve'ematz, to teach, to lead, to serve. It takes strength and courage to say, I don't know, to ask better questions. It takes strength and courage to seek truth over comfort, to walk into the wind, to chart a new course, to trust that the process is there and to be part of that process. Leadership takes strength and courage, and it gives strength and courage too. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechi mitzadeh gaver. Blessed are you who strengthens our steps. To Ben, to Alan, to AJ, and to every board member, to every committee chair and volunteer, to every Shalom Park partner, for everyone who makes this place and this community what it is, thank you for leading with heart. Thank you for leading with hope. And to all of us, if you've ever wondered whether you could lead, the answer is yes. Step in, speak up, walk with us, because the future of Jewish life is not something that we watch unfold. It's something that we create. This journey is all of ours, and we walk it together. Thank you, everyone.